It was 1604. The sun hadn't yet risen when Miyamoto Musashi arrived on Ganryu Island. His sandal touched the damp sand, and he knew something was different about this duel. This wasn't just another fight. This was the moment that would define his entire philosophy of life. Across the beach, Sasaki Kojiro, known as the demon with the long sword, had been waiting for him for hours. Kojiro was technical, precise, and lethal. He wielded a sword over 5 feet long, a steel monster that sliced through the air with lightning-like precision. Musashi looked at his own hands. Empty. He had purposely left his sword at home. As he walked along the beach, something caught his attention. The ocean waves lapped the sand and receded, lapped and receded, in a hypnotic, eternal rhythm. The water didn't struggle against the rocks. It simply flowed. At that moment, Musashi had a revelation that would change not only the outcome of that duel, but the entire human understanding of what it means to win. Have you ever wondered why some people can solve complex problems with astonishing ease, while others struggle with much simpler situations? Why do some individuals seem to navigate life's conflicts as if they were dancing, while most of us feel like we're constantly banging our heads against a wall? The answer lies on that beach in 1604. In that moment when a samurai observed the movement of the water and understood something that Eastern philosophy took centuries to fully articulate. Musashi wasn't just a warrior. He was a philosopher who saw life as a grand symphony of forces in motion, and he discovered that there is a way to move within this symphony that transforms any obstacle into an opportunity, any resistance into an ally, any battle into a dance. The name of this discovery? The water strategy. Over the next few minutes, I'll tell you not only what happened on that beach over 400 years ago, but also how this ancient wisdom can completely transform how you face the challenges of your modern life. Because if there's one thing that hasn't changed since the 17th century, it's the fundamental nature of human conflict. Let's return to that beach. Musashi stood there, unarmed, watching the waves. Kojiro, impatient, shouted taunts from the other side of the island. "Coward! Where is your sword?" But Musashi wasn't being cowardly. He was being wise. While Kojiro was burning energy with anger and impatience, Musashi was learning from the greatest teacher who ever lived. Nature itself. The water he observed had a fascinating quality. It never stopped moving, but it never wasted movement. Every wave that formed had a reason. Each retreat was a preparation for the next advance. The water was in no hurry, but it never hesitated either. In that moment of contemplation, Musashi understood something revolutionary. True strength does not come from resistance, but from the ability to adapt to circumstances without losing the essence of movement. Think with me for a moment. When you face a difficult problem at work, what's your first reaction? It's usually tension, isn't it? You tense your muscles, clench your jaw, and mentally prepare for a battle against the situation. This reaction is natural, but it's also the first step toward defeat. Because when you become rigid, you become fragile. When you resist, you create more resistance. Musashi realized this by observing how the water interacted with obstacles on the beach. When a wave encountered a rock, it didn't try to destroy it immediately. It circled around it, passed over it, exploring every crevice. And then, patiently, it began the work of transformation. This is the first lesson of the water strategy. Don't fight reality. Work with it. But there's a subtlety here that many people miss. Working with reality doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens. It means understanding the forces at play and using those forces to achieve your goals. Kojiro was growing increasingly irritable. His energy was dissipating into unproductive rage. Musashi, for his part, was gaining mental clarity. He was becoming like water, calm on the surface, yet powerful in the depths. While sailing to the island, Musashi had noticed the boat's wooden oar. It was a simple, functional object, unglamorous. But during the voyage, an idea began to take shape in his mind. Upon reaching the shore, he picked up the oar and, with a few precise strokes of his knife, began to shape it. Within minutes, that ordinary oar had transformed into a wooden sword larger than Kojiro's own famous blade. It was crude, yes, jagged compared to the technical perfection of the sword that awaited him. But it had something the metal sword didn't. It had been created specifically for that moment, for that situation. By those hands, Musashi held his improvised creation and felt something extraordinary. It wasn't the weapon he had planned to use. It was the weapon his intuition and circumstances had co-created, and that made all the difference. Herein lies a profound truth about how life works. The best solutions are rarely those we plan in advance. They are those that emerge from the dialogue between our preparedness and the possibilities the situation offers. How many times have you been frustrated because things didn't go as planned? How many opportunities have you missed because you were too focused on a specific outcome? The water strategy teaches us a different approach. Instead of making rigid plans, we develop adaptive capabilities. Instead of trying to control every variable, we learn to dance with uncertainty. Musashi had spent years training not just sword techniques but states of consciousness. He cultivated what the Japanese call mushin, the mindless mind, a state of relaxed alertness where you are fully present but not trying to force any particular outcome. This mindset is crucial to applying the water strategy to modern life. When your mind is agitated by anxiety or obsessed with a specific goal, you lose the ability to perceive the subtle opportunities that are always emerging around you. It's like trying to see the bottom of a lake while the surface is turbulent. The information is there, but the turbulence prevents you from seeing it clearly. Kojiro, on that beach, was like a lake in a storm. His technique was impeccable, but his mind was clouded. Musashi, on the other hand, had become like a mirror of water. His opponent's every move was reflected with absolute clarity. And then came the moment of confrontation. What happened in those few minutes of duel was a practical demonstration of how the philosophy of water works in high-pressure situations. Kojiro attacked first, predictably. His sword sliced through the air with deadly speed, seeking a decisive blow. It was the strategy of fire. Intense, direct, devastating. Musashi responded like water. Instead of blocking the attack or countering directly, he moved slightly to the side, allowing the blade to pass inches from his body. There was no resistance, only redirection. At that moment, something extraordinary happened. The force of Kojiro's own attack threw him off balance. He had poured all his energy into a movement that met only emptiness. Musashi didn't waste the opportunity. With his crude piece of wood, he delivered a simple but perfectly timed blow. Kojiro fell. The duel was over, but the lesson was just beginning. According to historical accounts documented by scholars at Kyoto University, this duel marked a fundamental shift in Japanese martial arts. It wasn't just a technical victory, it was a philosophical revolution. A researcher specializing in samurai philosophy explains, Musashi demonstrated that true mastery lies not in mastering complex techniques, but in understanding the natural principles that govern all conflict. But what does this mean for you, who will probably never face a sword duel? It means everything, because the conflicts you face daily at work, in relationships, within yourself, operate on exactly the same principles. There are always forces in motion. There is always energy being exchanged. There is always a natural rhythm that can be perceived and utilized. The difference is that most of us were trained to be like Kojiro, technical but rigid, powerful but predictable, focused on victory but blind to the flow of the situation. Now comes the most interesting part. How to transform this ancient wisdom into practical power for 21st century life. The water strategy operates on 3 levels of consciousness that you can progressively develop. The first level is perception. Just as Musashi observed the waves on the beach, you need to learn to observe the patterns in the situations you face. Each person has a natural rhythm of communication. Each problem has its own energetic structure. Every conflict has moments of tension and moments of openness. When you develop this awareness, you begin to see opportunities where you previously saw only obstacles. That argument with your boss stops being a battle and becomes a dance where you can choose your steps. That difficult financial situation stops being a dead end and becomes a river with multiple navigation possibilities. The second level is adaptation. Once you recognize the patterns, you learn to move within them. This doesn't mean being passive. It means being strategic. If your coworker is being aggressive, instead of responding with more aggression, you can absorb their energy and redirect it into something productive. If a project isn't going as planned, instead of forcing the original outcome, you can allow it to evolve into something even better. The third level is transformation. This is the most subtle and the most powerful. When you truly master the water strategy, you don't just adapt to situations, you transform them. Like water that shapes stones over time, you learn to influence people and circumstances in almost imperceptible yet profoundly effective ways. Your presence becomes transformative without being invasive. Your power becomes evident without being intimidating. Musashi called this winning without fighting. And it's possible in any area of life. But here's the secret that few understand about the true nature of water strategy. Musashi didn't develop this philosophy just to win duels. He developed it because he realized something profound about the very nature of existence. Everything in life is in constant movement and transformation. Resisting this fundamental truth is the source of all human suffering. When you fight the natural flow of life, you're not fighting external circumstances. You're fighting the very force that keeps you alive. It's like a cell trying to resist the blood flow that nourishes it. Water doesn't just teach us how to win battles. It teaches us how to live in harmony with the creative force of the universe. On that beach in 1604, Musashi didn't just defeat Kojiro. He defeated the illusion that we need to be tough to be strong, that we need to resist to be powerful, that we need to fight life to achieve our goals. True mastery, whether in business, relationships, art, or any area of life, comes from understanding that you are not separate from the forces around you. You are part of them. And when you align your movement with the natural movement of life, you discover a power you never imagined. This doesn't mean you'll avoid all conflict or never face difficulties again. It means you'll relate to these experiences in a completely different way. With wisdom instead of reactivity, with fluidity instead of rigidity, with confidence instead of fear. At the end of his life, Musashi wrote, "I did not seek to defeat others. I sought to defeat the illusion of separation between myself and the world." This is the essence of the water strategy. It's not a combat technique. It's a way of being that recognizes that you and life are partners in an infinite cosmic dance. The question remains simple, yet transformative. Are you willing to stop fighting the music and start dancing? Because when you make that choice, you discover that life wasn't your enemy. It was always your teacher. And the lesson it wants to teach you is the same one Musashi learned on that beach 400 years ago. True strength lies in the gentleness that never breaks. True victory lies in flowing with such mastery that obstacles become opportunities for growth. This is the eternal wisdom of water. And now, it lives in you.